So hi, this video is gonna be a little bit more challenging because this time I'm gonna try to create a video making a 40 inches flower on this tiny island that I have here. So if you watch my previous video, I've shown you guys how I made this poinsettia, hydrangea ball. This is what we're going to use as a center later. So it's fully assembled. We know that this is what we're going to use. So first up, I'm gonna introduce, the petals that we have here. So I'm using petal number 113, and on this template, I'm using an 11 by 17 cardstock. And I know lots of you will freak out like, oh my god, how can it be possible, that anyone can make it when 11 and 17 paper is really not that accessible to many. Well, if you go to the dollar store or any, craft store, I'm sure you will find like a poster board. I would recommend highly in the dollar store because they are selling it for like $1, or the white one would be 2 sheets in $1. So you can really do these things, this flower, this 40 inches. So basically, I have 6 layers here. Each layer has 8 sheets, and I think I used 28 sheets of 11 by 17 inches paper for this one. So it's not your everyday paper flower, but for the sake of having fun of making a giant paper flower that leaves its name, so we're going to do a tutorial for that, using template number 113. So because we're going to have a massive flower, we're also gonna make a massive base. Here we have 12 inches diameter, and excuse my cutting because I'm using a really thick cardboard since we are gonna be using heavy and larger flowers, so it requires thicker base also. So that's what we're gonna use, and also the pipe cleaner that we're going to use as a hanger. So let's set aside the base and let's concentrate first on our petals. So first things first, I know the first thing of most of my petals of my paper flower templates will be to cut the slit. This time it's not. First thing is, in every layer we have 8, so let's divide it into, so 4 sheets, get 4 sheets, and let's fold it as center as we can. So if it helps, we can also use our scissors to really press and create a crease on this line here. So that's our first 4. We're gonna go ahead 1, 2, 3. Okay, so freaks me out. I can only see 3 sheets here, and I fold 5 pieces the first time, so it's still 8. So this scissors is really double purpose. It's aiding me to fold our petals. So the same thing with the second layer and the third layer and the fourth layer. One, and this is the second part. Now on our third layer, so the Rosa Mystica is also assembled the same way. And again, it requires 11 by 17 inches paper for you to create a 40 inches flower. However, especially when you are buying SVG, you can definitely reduce it to, you know, the 8.5 by 11 inches paper, and instead of having 6 layers, you can just use 4. So we're on to our fourth layer. So that's the fourth layer. Our fifth and final layer would be different. We're gonna curl the center. So this is our fifth layer and our fifth and final layer. Oh, sixth and final layer. So now that we fold and curl our petals, although it's not completely fold yet, but after folding in half, especially the larger ones, what I'm gonna do now is to cut the center 8 sheets at a time so that we can create a dimension on our petals. So the biggest has the longest slit, and followed by the second layer. So that's our second layer. Moving on to our third layer. That's the third layer. And then the fourth layer. And the fifth and the sixth. So now that we've finished creating slits, we can then now go ahead and create the curl on the sides. So 4 sheets at a time. First layer, we are curling it outward. So first layer is finished. Moving on to our second layer. Four sheets again at a time. And here. Third layer. And our fourth layer. And our fifth layer. For our fifth layer, what we're gonna do is get 4 sheets at a time and curl outward. However, the tip, curl it forward, because this is gonna be a part of our transitional petal. So the same thing, sides outward, and tip forward. So done with our fifth layer. Now to our sixth layer. On our sixth layer, we're going to curl the sides inward. And the tip also inward. So sides inward, sides inward. So now that we're finished curling, let's now then go ahead and glue the flaps together. I'm gonna fast forward this process so that, to shorten at least this video. Assemble this in our massive base. So let's start with the first layer. So assembling it in a larger base is quite different than what the normal arrangement I have. So first thing, we're gonna glue this pipe cleaner so that we will have a handle or a hanger area. So let's put 4 because this is big and heavy. Here in the opposite. So after placing our hanger into our base, we can now then assemble our petals. So as I said, this is gonna be a different way of arrangement than, you know, my normal petals. So again, just half, let the other half open, and where the pipe cleaners are, that's where we're going to place our petals. So let's twist this one a little bit so that I can work on the other side. We're doing the opposite. So basically, the sides are open because we're gonna have more petals in there later. So the third, and the fourth. This is gonna be a little bit challenging because it's so big and there's only, you know, an area in my camera that can cover. So after the 4 are placed into our base like a cross, we can now then insert our other petals. Actually, we don't have to make this one open because our base is big enough. So we can then just go ahead and do that and place the petals in between like so. So let's go ahead and stick this in. And we're going to place another petal in between the two. So, by the way, when you have a newborn photography, this is gonna be a good size flower to use. So my working area also, my table is really small for this project. But anyway, let's try to make this work. And one last petal. In between the two. So now that we have our first layer, we can then now go ahead and place our second layer in between two previous petals of the previous two petals of the previous layer. So let's try and make it as center as you can, like so. can place our center, covering the entire thing here. So let's then generously add hot glue into our center and press it firmly but gently towards the center and give it a good number of seconds before letting it go. Wow, this is massive. I think this is the largest paper flower I've ever made. So, I'm not really sure if you guys can see it, but I'm gonna try to give you a good view on how big it is. So look at my mug. How massive is this flower? So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys like this video tutorial, and please hit like if you do and subscribe if you haven't yet. So until next time guys, thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.